Welcome to Act 2 by Choosing Him Ministries with Tecia James and Andra, a place where life stories are told, encouragement is shared, and hope is found. Good morning, listeners. We're so excited to have you with us today.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
I know. So you guys, for those of you who are watching our YouTube channel, just know we're trying something different today. We're going to be looking at each other. So you don't have to view the side profile the whole time. So anyway,
you can see us,
yes.
Actually our faces.
Yes.
So at the side of our,
which is not my favorite feature of myself anyway. So, it's all good. Whatever.
Anyway, moving on. Happy New Year's. Welcome. Golly, I can't believe we are starting another year.
I know.
And it's super exciting. But it can also be very intimidating. So,
yes.
I don't know. How was your holidays?
They were great.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, as lovely as they could be.
Have you set some New Year's resolutions? Are you somebody who does that?
Yes. I mean, I try. This year, and I think everybody's like this, at the end of the year, you kind of reevaluate and self-evaluate and self-reflect. And so, of course I've done that. But it's always the same ones.
And what can you share with us?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's stupid things like I'm going to keep the house clean. I'm going to, spend more quiet time with God, things that just have this great, these, I'm going to work out more. That's a huge one. I know that's a huge one for everyone. And y'all walking to the mailbox is about as much exercise as I like to get daily.
Wow.
And yeah, but I mean, I need to be walking. I need to at least be walking. And so those are my New Year's resolutions. And I always start off with great intentions and they kind of fizzle after a while. So this year, I'm hoping it's going to be different, as I say every year.
Well, you're better than me. You
start
some, you at least have some. I don't make New Year's resolutions.
Really?
No, I used to.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got tired of feeling like a failure all the time. No, I really don't. I spend some time just really praying with God, trying to set my goals for the year. I realized my New Year's resolutions or whatever were so drastic and I could never meet any of them. And they were just superficial. So I kind of really just spent some time with God going, what is my goal for this year? Mm-hmm. To give me lots of, I don't mean wiggle room as I can get out of this, but it sets my mind frame for the year. And so this past year, our podcast has been a big goal for us.
Huge.
And we've been able to launch it and it's going incredible. So thank you listeners, because It's been a huge goal. And so that's kind of how I start the year. It is, how is this year going to, at the end of the year, what do I want to look back and feel like it was successful?
Great point.
That's because I'm all about, excuse me, if you know me, I'm always about how did it end, whether it's a conversation, whether it's a friendship, when you have an argument, or how did it end? End of the day, when the kids have acted like hellions all day long when they were little, I would always bathe them and then we would have sweet book time, because there's something about a fresh smelling little child that seems to wash away all the frustrations of the day.
All the demon child. You have to wash the demon child.
Yeah. But that's I'm always really big on, you can fight and fight and fight, but how does it end? Do you come back with reconciliation? Do you come back where you can move forward? And I guess that's how I approach a lot of my life, is how's it end? So at the end of the year, when I look back, is it going to have been a successful year? Not in the fact that it was easy, but was it intentional?
Yes. That's the word
for today.
Intentionality. Absolutely. So with that being said, we really, we're just going to kind of go over some ways to make sure you're staying intentional, that we're staying intentional. I mean, this is a journey together, because we're still, all of God's creatures are going to be just, I don't know, starting a new year, and how you start it and how you finish it is huge.
So what, we're obviously a Christian ministry. And so we're going to lean towards more the God factor, but not just to talk religious talk, but in our relationships and our circle of influence in our workplace.
Mhm.
What is it that can make it intentional? Is it our to-do list? Because I'm big on lists
Me too.
and my purple pen, which I love to cross off.
Right.
But is that going to be what is my driving force, is to make sure at the end of the day that I've accomplished my to-do list? Or is my focus going to be on, in the moment, whoever I am with, what am I doing? Am I going to be present?
Mhm.
And I'm going to be intentional and prioritizing what is going to be eternal lasting versus a momentary satisfaction.
Absolutely.
And that's hard. And
It
that
is hard.
takes some reflection
It
and
does.
time to really sift through of what is a momentary and loud in my face at the moment who says, I need it done right now, versus what is going to pour in and out of me for a kingdom purpose. And that's hard. You know, like if you stay at home, you might wake up in the morning and laundry might be screaming at you. You might have dishes in the sink. Okay. Yes, eventually those need to get done. But is that going to take the place of your time with God?
Right.
No.
Right.
You know, our to-do list at work, are we going to stay late and work 100 hours a week? Or are we going to put a cap, put some boundaries around the things that this world is screaming at us, and make sure that we show up for our family?
Absolutely. That's a huge one.
Hard one.
It is a hard one. It's very hard. They're all very hard because, we always say God is a gentleman and he whispers. And so he's not going to scream at you the way the dishes in the sink scream, the way your boss
Mhm.
screams, the way all of those worldly, physical, visual things that you see every day. So,
Yeah. The things that scream the loudest right now are the things that want priority. The things that should be a priority that don't scream later in the words of regret and missed
yes,
opportunities and life consequences. And that's something we all have got to step back and think about as we start this next year. What is it that's going to be of greater consequence? And what is, and be intentional with those things that really matter.
absolutely. It is being intentional every day when you wake up to say, what do I want the end of this day to look like?
Mhm.
And you need to work towards that. And I think one of the even bigger points of that is starting the day with God. Like that is one of my biggest struggles because as Tecia knows, I'm a sleepyhead. I like to get my rest, and my husband's an early riser, and he'll get up and he'll do his quiet time and he'll have talked with God and exercise by the time I even roll out of bed. And so it's awful.
I'm with you.
And so I really I'm going to have to be more intentional this year of really making a priority as soon as I get up, before my feet even touch the bed, reach over at my nightstand, grab my Bible and have some quiet time.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, once I get out of bed, the day's over. Like
Right.
I'm going to hit the ground running, and it's going to be every distraction possible until I'm sitting, back in the bed that night going, well, I never got to that. And I'm going to try not to do that. Listeners, going to try not to do that.
And social media is another big one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because we switched from our alarm clocks wake up in the morning to our phones wake us up, the first thing that you touch in the morning is your phone. And whether it's your podcast or whether you're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, like that is such a time sucker. You can spend an hour and not even realize it.
Yes. Yes.
That's something I think we need to start being intentional and understanding what takes the most of our time, and not just waste our time, because it's so limited. Make a priority of getting involved in a small group. Find somebody who's going to help hold you accountable, so that yes, you might be reading your Bible, you're maybe doing a study, but you have somebody to have those conversations with.
Yes.
What is it that you're getting out of this week? Maybe you're talking about the sermon from Sunday, or there's lots of groups. You can definitely email us and we can connect you with a group in your area if you don't have one. Give you some recommendations on that. But it is so important to have a circle and a community around you. That's how God created us to be.
Absolutely.
And that, when they say, how was your stay this week? And all you can tell them is what everybody on Facebook did. Well, we might need to go back to the drawing board a little
Right.
bit.
Right. Yes.
Mm.
And honestly, I mean, I think, Tecia, you're saying our phones are a huge distraction. I could not agree more, but let's try to use them to our benefit.
Mhm.
Like sit down and, there's so many apps that you can download that are going to have a daily Bible verse.
Right.
There's so many YouTube channels that you can watch. At the end of the day, I mean, I have friends who are working 60, 80 hours a week. And at the end of the day, they're exhausted. And I get that. They've poured into their job, they've poured into their family, and they're done. And the thoughts of maybe, pulling out a pen and paper and a Bible study, that might not be the season of life they're in right now. If the season of life is that you open up a YouTube channel and you listen to someone speak on God's word, and you take that in and you have a quiet time with God and prayer after that, like that's okay. Like you have to give yourself grace of the season you're in to know what, I guess, what medium you will use to connect with God.
Mhm.
So
We have to make him our priority.
Yeah.
I know I heard somebody say one time, you'll never get to heaven and regret not finishing your to-do list. You will always get there and regret the missed opportunities that you had with people and your relationship with him.
Yes.
And start with the end in mind. What do we want our life to be like when we're at? Do we want to have climbed the ladder? Because I'm telling you, this day you step, excuse me, the day you say you're retiring, they're already working to fill your position.
Right.
I mean, like you may get a plaque or you may get a
pat on the
back as you walk out the door going, thanks for your 50 years of service and your 180-hour weeks,
Right.
But if we don't, but we'll start with the end in mind of what we want our legacy to be. What do we want our relationship with Christ to be like at the end of the day? That should be what drives our daily activities, because if you're not going to get to where you want to be just by overnight, it's a daily, step-by-step, intentional, purpose-filled life that we have to live to get to where we want to be. And if we're not careful, life will drive us to become what the world says is successful, what the world says is important. And all those things, the minute we take our last breath, no longer matter.
No, they don't.
Our relationship with Christ, the people that we influence, the circle of influence that God has given and placed around us, and how we pour into the family and the people that come behind us, is what will last far beyond our last breath.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with that, I mean, we just kind of wanted to touch on that a little bit too, of being intentional with your family, with your friends, with your circle that's around you. What does that look like? Like
what would you say if somebody said that to you, being intentional with your circle of influence? What does that look like?
Okay. So what I try to do, like anybody who knows me, like knows I am a clean freak. Like I was joking earlier, I think when I said keep the house clean, because I really do keep it. Like I like everything in its spot. And, I have to step back and realize not everybody's like that. Like I look at situations now and think, in the big picture, is this going to ruin, like, how is this going to affect the big picture? I don't even know how to explain that. Like an example is just with my family, is that my kids, I love them, but they keep the stairs. Like it's a dangerous place. Like you can't get up the stairs without climbing over baskets and toys and things like that. And it used to drive me crazy. And I've since then realized, like, I want them to know this was their space, that they were loved, that this is okay. My stairs are not always going to look like that. And when they don't look like that, it's going to be sad. So I have to look at the big picture. Like in the long run, when they leave my house, am I going to say, I'm so glad those stairs were cleaned every day? Or am I going to say, I'm so glad I spent time. I'm so glad I didn't frustrate my kids. I'm so glad that, and it's like that with everything. Like when you have friends that maybe, like you're so busy that you can't make time for them, like make that time for them, because they're part of your life. And if you, at the end of the day, especially I think all of us introverts, because I know I'm one, and it's, when plans get canceled, I'm like, whew, okay, that's fine. That's fine.
The greatest appointment is a canceled one.
Yes, exactly. Which is so sad. But I really do have to be intentional and realize like, I need to invest in my friends. I need to, the things you invest in, you need to make sure are the right things.
Yes, absolutely.
That was a lot of rambling to get to that point.
Well, it's important. It's important, you know, and be aware of what's going on in your friends' lives. Somebody's got a doctor's appointment, follow up and ask how it was. You know, be available with your kids when they walk in the door to say, how was your day? And actually sit down to hear the answer.
Yes.
Right? Not just good, fine, okay, fine, you know, good. You know, be aware of the people in your life. And I'm telling you, I asked a group of high school students one day, I was like, what is the thing that you love the most as far as encouragement goes? And you know what they said? Written letters in the mail.
Oh, wow.
I know, it shocked me, but they don't get that. Everything
Mm-mm.
they get is digital. Everything they get is through an email. And so, I mean, you have to write in print because they can't read in cursive.
That's okay.
You really can't. I figured that out when I
Yes.
started writing the to-do list for them to do every day, you know, and I'd write it in
Mhm.
cursive and you'd clean the dishes or whatever. And they got out of it because they could not read the cursive. Anyway,
Awesome.
but just to be able to get a letter in the mail that says, you know what, I was thinking about you today, and here's the scripture that I prayed over you today. What a blessing that is.
That's huge.
That takes 5 minutes.
Yes.
It might take me 5 hours to actually get it to the mailbox, but it can take 5 minutes to write a
Yes.
letter.
Don't even get me started on that.
So that could be my New Year's resolution, is to make sure everything that I write, every letter gets
Follow
to
through.
the mailbox.
Oh,
Yes.
that's great. I have letters upstairs right now that haven't made it to the mailbox. I
So
mean,
that
it's just
we can hold each other
we
accountable
can.
on
Let's
that
do
one.
that. Yes.
But just even one a day, or sit down on Monday mornings and you have your quiet time and you write out 3 to 5 letters of somebody and pray over them and send it out, because I'm telling you, it will show up in their box at the exact moment that God needs them to hear from him.
Yes.
It is super crazy how he works that way. It's so intentional.
Yes.
And it is so powerful. So there you go. There's a tangible thing you can do in your circle of influence, is write a note, do something that lets the person know in your circle that you think about them, that you love them, and that they are important to you.
That's huge. Yeah.
So,
and honestly, for the moms out there, write them to your children too.
Yeah.
And like, even if you have to, I don't know how that works. Like, can you mail from your mailbox back to your mailbox?
Or you can drop it off at the grocery store when you go.
Yeah. Or walk next door and stick it in your neighbor's box,
Yes,
something. But yeah, like your kids love getting letters too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would have to.
It's just another avenue. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, our listeners, who there's some ways to really be intentional in your new year and this coming year, because over this past year when we've been so isolated and we didn't know how to plan for the next day, it was very hard to be intentional,
right?
Because we were always sitting on wait, go, wait, go, wait. Okay, no, you can't go yet.
Right.
And so this coming year, we just have to be intentional with every day. Just how Jesus was. Every relationship he had a goal. And his goal was to allow them to see him in a new and fresh way. And our intentionality is based on every day, the gift that God has given us to be here, to be an influence and to share his love with each other.
Yes.
So that's what we'll leave you with today, is be intentional, share God's love, be available, and have a blessed day.
Bye, guys.
See you next time.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.